Super impressed with this gentleman. And rather than giving a big long speech, I want to welcome Glenn from Lake Homes Realty, Glenn Phillips. And you can go to his website, which is lakehomes.com. And there's another one, beachhomes.com. That's beach-homes.com. And let's get at it. Glenn, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, delight. We had a great week last week. So delightful to see you again.
You know what? They say English accents get you a long way in America, but I will swap mine for yours any day of the week.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, listen. All right, listen. So you did how many transactions this year?
Roughly 2,400. And we do that with a little under, just over 200 producing agents and a handful of assisting agents.
So this is the thing that blew me away. 2,400 transactions, 200 performing agents, right? 300 agents altogether. And how many states are you in?
We're a licensed brokerage in 39. We're not operating with agents in all of them, but we're licensed in those states, and we're building out the teams in those areas.
All right. I'm going to ask you just like a granular question up front, right? Can what you're doing be done by somebody else? Or is it like, and let me just kind of go to a sensitive spot for me personally, right? You get some of these guys who stand up, they charge you $19.95 to listen to them for 2 days on the weekend. And they say something like, I did the most sales ever in any 1 year. Then you look back to their year and it happened to be the short sale year and they ran a short sale operation. It's kind of like selling umbrellas when it's not raining. And what I loved about talking to you was this is not an out-of-date system. This is happening right now. So my question is, can somebody do what you're doing? And does it have to be as big as you, or can they do it locally? I'm just really intrigued by that question.
So there's multiple parts, and I'm going to go to the last part first.
Yeah.
Anybody can build on scale if they focus, go on niche, own a space, be inescapable in that space. One of the biggest mistakes we see, and when agents join us, we help them. Maybe they just sold at the lake or just at the beach before, but most of them didn't have enough traction there. So they sold a little bit of everything everywhere.
Yeah.
But when you focus and you know what it is, the power of saying, no, I'm not going to do this, or no, that's not my customer. Most agents operate in a scarcity mindset of, well, I need anything I can get. Most of my career as a tech entrepreneur, and I pretty much ran my company in the ground until I learned my metric was how many contracts can I get versus how many are both profitable and where I can serve the client well, so they'll share me with the next person, as opposed to any deal I can take.
So you're focused. So I think in 2000, this is another intriguing thing to me. 2011, you started as basically a lead gen company, right?
It was the concept. We were brought in by some investors. They thought it would be a lead gen on scale. They didn't understand real estate. I think by the time they asked us to look at it, they were actually deciding if they were going to kill it. They had not generated revenue. The software wasn't finished. The people they'd hired had left. And we said, you can fix your problems by being a brokerage, but you're no longer a pure.com. It'll take time and money.
So that was 2011. Maybe you do a lead gen company. Everybody needs to know this. By 2017, Glenn's company is in Inc. magazine's 5,000 list of the fastest growing companies. And he's been in that list 7 years in a row. Now, Glenn is the most humble guy I've ever met. 7 years in a row. So immediately when I hear that, I think, what the heck are you doing? So let's really base down your business model. Your business model is what? We're going up 10 floors in an elevator, right? And I'm Donald Trump for a minute or whatever, if you don't like Donald Trump. And you're telling me, Andy, this is what I do, floor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this is why you need to invest, $100 million in me.
Yeah, classic elevator pitch. We convert our revenue as a classic real estate brokerage. People we list and sell with agents, but we're powering those agents by using technology to focus in on a specific type of buyer, consumer, and product. The buyer, the seller, and the property are all hyper focused, so that we become a machine and dominant machine in search.
So technology, dominate in a search, specialize, and you built one or two websites at the beginning, one website.
Yes, we added the Beach-Homes a year and a half ago, and it's just getting its traction. It takes a while for SEO to work. We're very good at paid digital ads, those little sponsored ads in your Google and Microsoft Bing search. We've become very good at those, but it also helps that we're a specific thing. So if someone goes, I'm looking for lake homes in Tennessee, Zillow and Realtor.com and Homes.com will show up, but we're more effective and the search engines like us better because we're the specific thing, not the general thing. You know, a good example would be if you made golf clubs. If you made golf clubs and you wanted to sell them, you could buy a Super Bowl ad and be in front of a lot of people, but you could take that money and spread it out over weeks and weeks on the Golf Channel. So which one's the better spin? If you're the golf people, go where the golf people are.
All right, got it. So you produce a site, lakehomes.com. You specialize. You're now in how many states again?
39 for Lake Homes, 14 or 15 for Beach.
By the way, I just want to get from everybody, can you just give me a quick thumbs up? Some people viewing that you're getting, you can hear this clearly enough because we've got a little bit of a technical glitch on our end. And I just want to be sure. Can you hear us clearly, Glenn? Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. So everybody will ask, how do you drive traffic? Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Yep. So how do you drive traffic to these sites? How much of it is organic? How much of it is SEO? How much of it is PPC?
We started with paid. We just shoved paid because we're a no. We built SEO over time, which takes over time. There's no trick. In fact, if there's a lesson in any of this about anybody's wanting to build their market share, is there's not a shortcut. People, I think there's more money to be made selling shortcuts that don't work to real estate agents than there is selling real estate.
Yes.
Everybody's and they will jump from shortcut to shortcut to shortcut. They're looking for a lottery ticket win when the people who win play the game over time. And they become, what can I do to be inescapable to my target audience?
So I'm thinking if you're in 35 states, you're paying to drive traffic. How many leads do you generate over the period of a month? And what does that cost you, if you don't mind me asking, or you can approximate for 35 states?
So let's look at it in the bigger scale because there's some variability by month and season and market. Different markets cost us different things. So in different channels of digital, we may spend for the year, we're going to generate, 40 to, well, probably 50 to 60,000 leads this year among our specific digital channels, which is our websites and driving traffic to those websites specifically. It may drive to the agents, but not counting those. And our budget on that has been anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million a year across the whole spectrum. And that'll vary. In fact, as when we started, we were spending a lot more on paid for Lake Homes traffic because we had no SEO. As our SEO grew over years, because we were doing good content, quality content, and being patient, it became very equitable. And so we actually now get more about organic. And I actually don't want to overspend on paid because I found out the only thing paid was stealing was our organic that we'd already spent money to build. So we are always testing the organic and the paid to make sure we're not just double paying for traffic. And in Beach, we're having to do more of a paid process while we build the SEO.
So, I mean, it sounds like a lot of money at first when you say $500,000 to $1 million, but that's in 35 states. So if you're spending, say, 50 grand a month in 35 states, it's when you break it down, that's only $1,500 a state if you aggregate it. I understand some states will be more, but it's not a huge spend. And I want to bring everybody back to track again. This is 2,400 transactions a year, 2,400 in 35 states with roughly $1,500 ad spend per state. Those are very unusual statistics. Very unusual statistics.
We invested heavily in the digital paid, the sponsored ads. I built our original system. Now I have a colleague of mine who's inherited what we did. We even tried outsourcing it with somebody using AI, and our systems were better because we'd learned certain ways. We've hired consultants to teach us, but we have probably reinvented our paid systems 4 times and driven our costs down, so that now when we look at the auction comparisons of us that they talk about in all digital. How often do you show up impression share to Zillow, Homes.com, Realtor.com, the others? And in Lake, we're always in that. We move around a little bit, but we're always in that 15 to 30% market share, which is good as it gets. So is Zillow, Homes.com, Realtor.com. We're in those rotating around in that top 4 or 5 people, and we're doing it for a fraction of the amount they're spending. But we've done that by reinventing it.
I'm just doing some mental arithmetic here, Glenn. You're doing roughly $1, $1.50 a click.
No, that's what our competitors do. We've driven ours down to below a quarter.
Wow. That's just staggering. Now, okay, so part of that, what I'm hearing is, so 2011, you spent a year and a half finding out basically what wasn't going to work. So now we're at 2012 and a half. And by 2000, I don't want to get this wrong, mate, and insult you. By 2017, so that's 4.5 years later. And most of us just try wild experiments year on year. 4.5 years later, you're in Inc. magazine's 5,000 list of fastest growing. And I asked you how, and you said, well, Andrew, first of all, we specialized. So with somebody listening now, rather than just being a nice history story, you got team leaders all over the country watching this, right? So would your first piece of advice to them be pick some specialty and somehow incorporate that either into the website or in a subdomain in the website? Give us some like really wise direction. Hey, Andy, we did 150 deals last year. We want to do 250 deals next year. We don't have $500,000 like Glenn, but we can spend $5,000 a month. What do I do to drive that from 150 to 250 using your model?
So the big key here is be the expert at something. Consumers still want to use agents, but they all look alike. So what are you uniquely an expert at so that you can become over time the default answer, which relieves, if you're the default answer and the expert and you have what we call an unfair market advantage, which doesn't have to be our website. If you are the expert in that space, it relieves the consumer from the default selection. Well, I got to pick my cousin or my boss's niece.
Right.
Because you have primed them with, I am the go-to person. And that's not instant. That has to be built over time, and you have to be inescapable. Now, that doesn't mean you're every billboard, every TV commercial. Inescapability is consistent over time, and it doesn't have to be crazy expensive to begin with. Many of our agents have done this locally with their sphere of influence in the Lake, where they've become the Lake expert and the #1 producer in their market, that when we met them, they weren't. And that's not just because of the website.
So see, I like this. So I love that word, inescapable. So what you're saying is you attract agents in other states where you don't live that are completely different to your state, but there's one common denominator. They all like Lake homes. So and the clients do. So you're attracting them, and they're duplicating your message essentially in their marketing, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Yes, they share your website, but they're duplicating the inescapability that you are demonstrating in your core market.
Yes. And we do that. We want them to have a brand, but we don't want them to ditch our brand. We need to do it together. We want them to accelerate and let us be the wind behind them, not just the guy who gets a piece of the action because you signed up with us.
So if I signed up for you now in California, how would that look for me? Let's say I have my own logo. You know how we all are. We've got our logos and our identity and all that, right? What happens to that? Does it say powered by Lake Homes Realty underneath that? Do I eradicate my Warburton team brand? What happens?
So if it's a brand that's achieved some status, we need to preserve that. We're not wanting to reinvent what the agent's doing. But we also want to be cognizant that the brain can't process too many things. The more logos and names you put, the more you become visible.
Yeah.
And so we want to be if it's an agent, though, who hasn't really built their momentum yet, they can build more momentum by using the Lake Homes brand and their name. And their name is real powerful. People come up with a lot of sophisticated names that don't mean anything to the consumer. They want a connection. Even if it's the Glenn Phillips group and somebody on my team talks to them, it still feels like it's human. And I think many agents try to feel overly like they've created a brokerage brand. It's been so bad that in some states, the real estate commissions have banned using certain words and team names because
Yeah,
they were
yeah, for
obscuring their
sure.
brokerage.
For sure. Okay.
But, we've told our agents, don't undo our logo, which also is federally trademarked, but
Right.
let's do it together. There's a reason McDonald's franchisees don't go put up purple arches.
Yes. Yes. Or say, Bob's McDonald's or whatever. Yeah, it's McDonald's. Okay, gotcha. And do the agents then have a subdomain of your website?
We have some that we've created, but a lot of them have their own domain name, and we'll redirect those. One of the things we want to enhance is the agent portion of
Gotcha.
the site. And some of them have their own sites, and they're pretty good, and some of them are glad to not have to screw with it. And we're very almost harsh in our reality to them, is that some agents are sold, you must have your own website, and you must blog, and you must do these things. If you can't do them continuously over scale, you got to
Yeah.
realize the reality is the consumer is not coming to your website to search for houses. They're coming to your website to confirm you are who you say you are and to verify you are the expert you claim to be.
So this point here, I think, is a huge divergence. And this, now you're kind of getting into some iCONNCT philosophy that when we started this tech company, Glenn, people said, do you want to start a search engine? Are you sure you want to compete with Zillow or Realtor or .com or whatever, right? And my immediate answer was, no, we don't want to. And then I spoke to friends who are lead generators, and they said, well, do you want to, spend a couple of $1 million a month generating leads and then tracking them? I said, well, no, I don't want to. What I want to do is create a better relationship between buyers and sellers and agents, right? And the whole thing where buyers and sellers have a choice, they can find you on the map. It's this whole Uber style service, provide the service. iCONNCT's like a camera. If you don't put film in it, old school, and if you don't point it at somebody, you're not going to get a picture. So it's the same with iCONNCT. You have to point it at somebody, which is, hey, I'm your go-to agent.
Yeah.
So you're incorporating that philosophy in what you're doing. It's brilliant what you just said. People don't go to your website, to look for property. And I think a lot of agents get that wrong. I think even team lead, I get it wrong. That I got to say it again. The people that you're doing business with, 2,400 of them a year, $1 billion worth of sales, don't go to your agent's websites to search for property. They go to search for the agents.
Yeah.
And is that because it's just brilliant what you just said. Is that because those agents are specialized and you built the brand around that idea? I'm going to, I don't know where, Missouri, right? And I want to buy a lake home. And so I'm like, well, I want to go with a guy who really, knows about lake homes. So that's why, right? So now I want to know who that guy is. Does he fish? Does he sail? Is he powerboat? Does he camp? Is he a glamper? What kind of guy is he, right?
Yep. Yeah, we told our agents that come on, and some listen to us. We give them a lot of latitude. We don't want to reinvent them, but we've said, look, a lot of you put the data points of why you, as an agent, the consumers don't care. You were, maybe an agent of the year in your MLS may be valuable, but still, I have these 27 designations, and I've been in this market for 12 years, and I'm hardworking, and I went to school here, and that doesn't distinguish anybody. And it doesn't tell you who you are as a person. So we advised our people, start telling your human story. Yeah, you've had some success, but talk about what do you enjoy? So like one of our agents, we redid her bio, and she talked about her love of horses and where she had worked at a big company she named by name and what she did there. And she said it was amazing that these buyers from out of town will go, we love horses too. Or they'll go, I used to work at that company. And that's lost in the list. So I co-run this business with our chief operating officer, Doris Phillips. She's a broker in 8 states. She also does title insurance. She's appointed in 14 states and has a fantastic nonprofit that's going to be Christmas to kids living in shelters in impoverished areas, to about 1,500 kids this year. So
I love it. You got a website for that? Got a website for that?
thecircleoflove.org.
Love it. Thecircleoflove.org. Maybe one of our team could put that in the chat real quick. There it goes.
And we don't pay salaries. All the money goes to the kids. All the work is volunteer, and there's shopping lists through Amazon and donations. And it's 20 years of her building that. So, but Doris, for full disclosure, is my bride. And we were actually known by the investment bankers separately. They knew we were married. So we were asked, because she had title and closing background, and I'm a nerd. I built custom technology for most of my career. And so the idea that lakehomes.com would be this lead gen real estate site, we were asked to come into that together, and how would we grow that? And one of the things I tell our agents, I said, the data points to begin with don't matter. I said, I met Doris at a Chamber of Commerce luncheon. And if I had walked up to her and said, hello, my name's Glenn, and I have my 17-point list of why one day I might be a great spouse, she'd have thought I was like, get away from that dude. But agents, I want to send out a postcard that has the 17 reasons I'm a great agent that are all points.
You're coming back to this whole thing over and over again of inescapability.
Yeah.
And obviously, look, Mike Del Prete always talks about moving the bar, you know, and he often, I think he kind of gloats a little bit. I'd say that in a nice way about how many people don't move the bar, but you've obviously moved the bar, right? It's not that difficult to get the data and say how everybody's not doing very well. It's much more difficult to do what you're doing, and you are doing well in the midst of these very, very difficult times.
So here's what we found, because we need to see if we're drinking our own Kool-Aid, and we're going out and tell agents. And some of them come to us and they actually don't get the split they had somewhere else. And we're not looking for everybody. I've told, we have a team of 3, they're doing agent recruiting. I said, your job is not to just go get agents, but find out who's not us.
So you have 3 people who do agent recruiting. Are they full-time people?
Yes.
Onshore, US?
Yes.
How many people do you hire a month?
Well, we probably go 10, 15, depending.
And how many would you like to hire a month? How many would you like to hire?
Increase it. We want to up that, but we also, here's how we think about it, Andrew.
Yeah.
And this is not a knock, because you need both. Real estate needs both. But when we first got the idea of what we looked at all the business models, referral, high volume agent. We chose one that we felt that real estate's filled with a lot of hardworking people that effectively are infantry. A lot of troops on the ground can move forward, but we wanted special forces. We want fewer agents and help them be higher producer with more firepower. And to see if we were helping them move the needle, we go back and assess, because we get seasoned agents. We can't take somebody who's brand new. We don't have the mechanisms to oversee them or train them. We need somebody who knows real estate and is ready to move to another level. But when we've evaluated how they perform with us versus in the aggregate versus how they did somewhere else, they each time we've done that assessment, they do twice the transaction volume.
So I'm going to be a little aggressive for a minute. I'm interviewing with you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a local, sort of doing fairly well real estate agent. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe I did 40 deals last year.
Sure.
For whatever, I'm not like super happy where I am. I don't really want to be negative and say why, but I'm looking around. So I'm sitting in front of Glenn, right? Why would I come to you?
And, and I originally did our recruiting, and I still like to get out because people's important. Here's what I start with, Andrew. Not going to answer that question until I understand, what is it you want? Do you want to, we all want to make more money. Yeah. But some people don't want to change their life or their process or their thinking or their systems to make more money. So want more money and desire, or some people want to own their market space. We met agents that said, I want to be the #1 agent here. Tell me, help me get there. We have others who I think they feel it's un-American to say, I don't want to work harder and make more money. But candidly, there are many successful agents who, they're in a really happy spot. For my effort and income, I'm happy. And I don't necessarily know that I want to go somewhere and drive business. So we're qualifying. Now, that said, there's 2 types we would be interested in. Somebody who wants us, the wind at their back, to do more transaction, or somebody who'd like to maintain their transaction volume over time and maybe not put in as much work. Either of those are kind of what you're looking for. But somebody who just like, blow me some leads and leave me alone will fail with us.
So that's super interesting. Did we just start to record? Yeah. Okay, good. Sorry, we just had a message come through from the AI. So now you've triggered something else interesting, because all of us who run high volume teams, most of the people who come to us, I'll be perfectly candid with you. Most of the people who come and join our team come because they get a ton of leads.
Yeah.
And so the turnover is enormous, because not only do they want leads that will convert themselves.
Yep.
Right.
Leads, the big change of this NAR settlement is there was most agents in this country are buyer's agents. And prior to the changes, If you could drop a lead, and if I'm an agent, you can drop me a lead and I can drag it to a closing, maybe being incompetent, but getting help from everybody, I got a really nice check, whether I was competent or not. Now agents, that group of agents is having for the first time to learn to sell and negotiate.
So I'm coming to you again in this interview. You're looking for a couple of types of agent. An agent who wants to sustain what they're doing but needs a new home, and you're going to provide culture for them, right?
Yep. Yep.
Or an agent who isn't doing as well as they want to accelerate, and you're going to provide what?
So we're going to give them some unfair advantages in the marketplace. And when I say unfair, it means they can get something from us. We will not inundate you with leads. Agents who come and believe they're going to get buried in quick closing leads always are disappointed. We're going to sustain, we're going to provide quality leads that are convertible over time if you nurse them over and think of years, which builds a defendable pipeline. Like, it's really hard to come steal that business when you're a flash in the pan.
Well, everybody hear that? I love that term, defendable pipeline.
Yeah. And this comes out of my work before this in technology with SaaS and startup and different web technology. We were often hired to hire and build technology for different companies, which lets you learn how they work in a variety of industries. And so when we work with, our board members are heavily involved in investment banking in the SaaS and tech-enabled services, and they have great educational things. And this is, no matter the industry, businesses, when you think as a business person, think about a defendable pipeline of business. Can you build a moat around your business that makes it hard for somebody to come take your space? Not just because you're good, but have you built technology? So, if my agent goes to a listing appointment, they're going to tell them, look, if your home is listed by any agent at the lake, it's going to be on our website unless you aren't internet marketing.
Right.
And it'll be on. But if you list with me, it will become featured, which means it'll show up more often at the top, which that doesn't guarantee a sale, but it increases, we all know more visibility improves our odds. I can also tell you, you can ask any agent here, say, where are the buyers for this lake coming from? And they'll name 4 or 5 cities. I can show you 120 places in the country or more where people were sitting in the country shopping at this lake and how we know they were quality buyers.
And how do you get that data?
From our analytics.
And the analytics are built into your proprietary backend?
They're built into our website. In fact, you can create them yourself for a platform by just plugging in the free Google Analytics tools or the free Microsoft Bing tools. And you can look at those analytics yourself for your website. Now, most people can't drive traffic on scale like we can. So that's one where we do have a unique advantage of the power of scale. But we're also going to have that agent. What we're trying to do is position them as the local expert with national reach. But you can be the local expert independent of the national reach. That's still very valuable. And in many markets we go to, there's somebody in that market who has done it, and they have such a sweetheart deal, they'll never join us. That's okay. When I go into a market and I meet new agents, I go with our recruiters, I always say, look, we're coming to this market. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to get to do business together. It may be on the same side of the table or opposite sides of the table, but we're not here to displace the rock star. We're here to bring more quality for everybody. I tell my agents that you don't have to displace the rock star if you take a vast majority of the deals from the less than competent agents. You'll be a rock star by doing that.
Inescapability, unfair advantage, defendable pipeline. Have you written a book on this? If not, you need to.
There's actually one in the works.
All right. Inescapability, unfair advantage, defendable pipeline. I did hear tech bleed in there. Tech was, you've got some analytics, Google Analytics or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you're running some analytics that you've got viable claims. Because I think that's another thing the public's becoming immune to. I'm the top agent. Well, what does that mean? It's like saying I'm a top of the mountain and you're on Palomar Mountain next to the Swiss Alps. The top of what, right? Yeah. So people are becoming, I believe, much more cautious. Even Yelp is suffering, and it's hard to sell on Yelp because they just don't necessarily trust it. Anyway, I don't mean to go down a rabbit hole on that.
I agree. It's noise. We call it
noise. It's noise.
I'm a big thinker for 20 years on psychology, cognitive distortions, what Dr. Burns' foundational work that led to the creation of modern talk therapy. And so, like, this morning I was reading Dan Early's book on misinformation and why we believe things that aren't true, because our brains are pattern machines. I've gotten the opportunity to help a schoolmate of mine coach championship level high school basketball. And my contributions are minor, but my job is to get these, it's girls basketball, is to get these young ladies to realize their brain is lying to them and they're taking plays off. Same thing. And if they can play through that, we've been in the state title game 6 of the last 7 years, at split between 2 different high schools. Now, the real part of that, Scott's a great basketball coach, and he gets those girls to work. That's the key part. I don't even know if my stuff helps. But the same thing with our team is to talk about the buyers, sellers, and agents all are fooling themselves on a ton of things. And many agents want to go try to build their marketing campaign because it looks like something else they saw, which feels comfortable, which feels familiar, and is completely ignored by the consumer unless you're doing it on massive scale.
No, exactly. All right. Let's wrap this up with these questions, if I may. 2025. We're on the eve of 2025. The curtain is ready to be drawn back. Your target for the next 12 months and how you're going to get there.
So our target is a minimum of 30% year-over-year growth. We're going to see that as a combination of inventory is going to get both grow a little and become more realistic. It's been hyper frozen. We've started to have better discussions with agents that during the frenzy. In fact, our website could have been called "Get the Heck Out of Town Homes.com" during COVID.
Right.
But it ate up all our inventory. And so
right.
But agents there who were blasted during that market anomaly now have realized they made a lot of money, and some of them would like to either get there or get back to there. And we're one of the few brokerages that can get them there. So we believe our recruiting opportunities are going to expand. And we're also looking at possibly doing some very narrow focused mastermind training things. Sort of like and part of what I went out where I met you is looking at what that structure, that meeting was like. And we've got a beautiful office. We're a little inconvenient for some people here in Birmingham, Alabama, but we've got a beautiful, functional, modern office that's not for agents. It's for our back office operations. But it's a training facility. And we're looking at agent count and transaction flow. And we're also looking at the beach part of our business accelerating, since it's in its infancy.
So we're doing an interview January next year, my friend. Well, not next year, 2026.
Yeah.
And we do the intro and you say, "Hey, Andy," and maybe you fill in the blanks for me, would you? "Hey, Andy, we had a great year last year. We grew from 2,400 transactions to..."
Yeah. My goal that I'm going to tell our team is a minimum of 3,000.
3,000 transactions. And we grew from 300 agents to
over 400. And those are minimum. I'll go ahead and tell you as well.
I get it.
I'm a conservative guy. When we build our models, and most people don't do this, we have very detailed P&L models, and which levers we can adjust based on cash flow, deal flow, cost. And because we built and designed the business with business-minded people, not real estate-minded people. We really look at things, and I tend to be conservative in my estimates. And if we exceed them, that's great. Most years we exceeded them. Year before last, we didn't. But this year, year over year, we grew year over year when most people were shrinking.
And you for business reasons kept the volume just under $1 billion. That's not a dig at you, because I'm sure you could have blown past it, but with Sitzer Burnett, that was very smart. So you'd be looking at probably $1.2 billion, $1.3 billion next year.
If we don't do $1.2 billion, if we don't do that, I'm going to be disappointed. And it means the only way we don't do that is there's some black swan we haven't seen coming.
So again, guys, we've been talking to Glenn, and I want to get the websites right here. Glenn Phillips, of course, lakehomes.com, beach-homes.com. And can we have that charity again? Because I don't have it right here and I want to get it right.
TheCircleOfLove.org. And
Great.
if you see
Please
it, the graphic is some children holding hands. It's a painting of some children in a circle holding hands.
So when I give to children.
Yes,
So please put me on the mailing list.
absolutely.
Glenn has led this company, started in 11, year and a half, just experimenting. Again, I want to repeat it. Inc. Magazine's 5,000 list of the fastest growing companies in the US, 7 years in a row. That's deliberate. That's not accidental. That's deliberate. 2017 to 2023, just under $1 billion this year, 2,400 transactions, and
Actually,
repeated.
Andrew, since I sent you that, we broke $1 billion already. We had some deals come in.
Well, the lawsuit's over, so it's okay now, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
And look, and the thing is, yeah, you generate 45 to 60,000 leads a year. You spend about $500,000 plus on leads a year, but that's over 39 states. Nothing about this is unreasonable. That's what I like about it, talking to you. Sometimes you'll talk to a guy and I don't know, or girl, they got enormous muscles, and you think I can never have enormous muscles like that, or you see them jumping on a Learjet. And here's this, I'm not being in any way deprecating, regular, good American guy with an accent, with obviously a really agile brain. You've set up a structure that I think a lot of people watching this podcast and listening to it can say, I could do that. Maybe you're going to see dirkbitewriterhomes.com. Maybe you're going to see, you get my point, right?
Absolutely.
Skiing 101 homes. I don't know. I could,
Andrew,
go off.
Andy, it can be as simple as a neighborhood.
So
We
speak to
lived
that
in
real
one
quick to wrap
neighborhood,
us
and
up. Speak
we
to
lived in
that
a
real quick
neighborhood.
to wrap us up. Yeah.
Yeah. There was just a guy who was inescapable, and he got business for that just because he was the guy in that 1,200 home subdivision.
Yeah.
We moved to a new home subdivision. It's bigger. No one has done it. I mean, if I didn't have anything else to do and I didn't want to do it on scale, I'd just go to that neighborhood and be the guy or be the gal, be the default answer in that neighborhood. And we've seen that done over and over. I'm surprised at how many places agents won't do it because they're trying to sell everything to everybody.
So I'd encourage the people, everybody watching this, is like two categories of people here, I think. Glenn just said you could take our model, be inescapable in a neighborhood. So you want to go from 40, 50 transactions, 100 transactions, you're escapable. Maybe you expand that neighborhood a little bit if the demographics just don't, the turnover isn't enough to double, right?
Yep.
So you just do some mathematical equations. But bottom line, you become escapable within a defined boundary, right? And that could be with a subdomain of your website, a subdomain of somebody else's website, because people are going to come to that website to find you, not to find homes. Second piece is, okay, I run a team of 100 transactions, 150, 200 transactions, want to go to, well, you're not going to do 400 in a year. That's very unlikely unless the market just goes up like that. But you want to do 30% year-on-year growth and then 30% the year after. How do I achieve that? Well, you're going to take an inescapable model and put it into a scalable model. But it's still the inescapability. That's your brand, really. It's inescapablehomes.com or inescapableagents.com. So either you do it in a microcosm or you take that microcosm in a structure that is scalable, which could be for a team having subdomain websites and having agents that specialize, or neighborhood websites and agents that specialize. And now you could do that in 10, 15, 20 states. And maybe run some pay-per-click campaigns to back them up, that kind of thing. That's a scalability, correct?
Yeah, it's, if we think about marketing 101, what are you known for? And if you're just known for being, I'm a good person who works hard and I've been licensed, I have a lot of certifications, you're running the mill.
Yeah.
What are you really known for? A book I recommend that was fundamental. It's an older book, I mean, quite a bit older. Purple Cow by Seth Godin was one of our formulative books. Can you be literally remarkable? If somebody says, well, I need to get the top agent. Oh, then I guess you're going to go call Andrew. If you're not that person that's so top of mind. Now, some people may skip because, we have funny reasons we don't pick people, but you don't need them all. You just need the good ones and enough of them to just know who that is. And those agents have done it. I've seen it done over and over without the kind of market reach we have by agents who have absolutely just said, I'm going to be the beast in this market. And a number of our agents have done this where we've shown them how, independent of our website. The leads are good. Many of our agents say the leads are the cherry on top. Being able to implement these systems to just be the brand here at this market has been the life changer.
So I saw a couple of questions come up. I know we've gone 40 minutes here. Is there any way you can hit me with a couple of those questions?
I'm curious to know about his staffing, who he has as the integrators to help him grow his vision into reality.
And who is this asking this question?
Kevin Cahill.
Okay, so did you hear the question, Glenn?
No.
Yeah. So Kevin Cahill, he's asking, Glenn, like Andy, is a visionary. I'm curious to know about his staffing, who he has as the integrators to help him grow his vision into reality.
So by the way, Kevin's like one of the most influential funnel marketers in the country. Really a strong guy, Glenn. He's he's your age more than mine. I'm older than both of you, but really an achiever and an accomplisher. By the way, I'd love to connect you guys and maybe
absolutely.
He's really big on PPC and funnels and all the repercussions that go with that. I think you guys would enjoy. So his great question. He's curious about your staffing. Can you just give a couple of minutes on that to give him a bird's eye view of your staffing?
So our team here, from when we call the corporate side, which is everything. We build our own websites. We've restructured somebody else's CRM to work on scale as if it's a local team nationally, because people can be shopping in 3 states and they need 3 different agents. We've done some interesting getting the calls answered so they don't just roll to dead voicemails or out of service.
Right.
So the goal was to build a back office that could be scalable, and that as we grow, we actually can become more efficient. And with that, we've homegrown staff, because even when we came in, we looked at, should we go raise capital and roll in other brokerages? And said, no, they don't work like we do. We don't. If we bring in a big brokerage with 400 agents here in the local office down the street, most of those agents won't stick, and we have to retrain the ones who do. It would be more organic. And so we've built our team about our training, our programs, and they're in their infancy. It was about, I said a lot. Well, I do set a lot of the vision, but we let our team bring ideas. Our agents are fantastic at bringing us ideas. We don't know what's happening in the local markets. And so, today we're setting up a Zoom on Friday to understand how we're going to tag properties in a different niche so they can be findable. So we need our agents to tell us, how do these properties look in this new niche we're moving in? We could guess. Our agents are our experts, and they won't be in agreement. So these are the things we need. We need bright people with a good attitude, because if people are not bright, they can be lovable, but they can't move it forward. And if you don't have a good attitude, you spoil it. That's right. Bright, good attitude, we can train the rest.
So homegrown, and how many staff to do 2,400 transactions a year? How many staff?
So let's see, I got to deduct out, because we have a title insurance company we own that we're growing. So
take that out.
Yeah. So 30 something.
Yeah, see, it's very
not a big team.
Glenn, we're indebted to you. Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity. Great to see you as always.
You betcha, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you very much.